That's why I always kind of preach, learn a market really well.
Hey everybody, welcome to Hello Haymarket. I'm your host, Nyce, and today we have a returning guest, the fabulous Mike Weber. Mike Weber, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
And we're excited to bring him back in because he works with investors so much. He is actually making a killing so far at the beginning of this year, doing a great job helping investors here in Northern Virginia. And we wanted to talk. We've got some things to say. After talking with enough investors, we find that there's a lot of myths floating around out there in the community. A lot of people who, they listen to wonderful podcasts, which helps educate them, but maybe they didn't listen to enough podcasts. Maybe they listened to like one episode of one podcast, and then they decide to come in and act like they know more than the realtors who are dealing with the real estate day in and day out. So what I want to do is I wanted to bring him in as an expert, and I wanted to kind of put these myths on you today, Mike, if I could.
Let's do it.
And see if we can't knock some of these misconceptions down.
Absolutely. Let's go for it.
All right, Mike. So myth number one is that there's no difference between a realtor and a wholesaler. That they both just find you deals, right?
Right. Yeah. No, I've been running into this a lot. They're two different avenues. Work with both 100%. If you're investing, I highly encourage you to meet as many wholesalers as you can. They are able to bring you deals, but it's a very specific, a little more niche type of thing. We're talking about finding properties typically distressed. They're not licensed. They can be, but they don't have to be. And they're finding distressed properties, right? Agents do a lot more than that.
Yeah, I think we may need to kind of define terms a little bit here then, right? So wholesalers first. If you had to describe a wholesaler, and you just did, how would you compare them to a realtor? What is a wholesaler going to do that a realtor is not going to do and vice versa?
Well, I mean, the main thing for a wholesaler is they're actually getting the property under contract. They're putting a purchase agreement on the property, and they are now going to shop that purchase agreement. It has to have in the contract. They have the right to assign it, is what they call assigning the contract to the end buyer. An agent, they're just going to get a listing agreement signed. They're not putting the property under contract. They have no intention of buying your property. They're just there to list your home. If you're working on the listing side, as a buyer agent, you'll also go out and you'll help your buyers find deals, but that's typically going to be things that are listed. Sometimes we get pocket listings, like we have access to a large investment network, so we do get things off market, but that's not our key main goal is just to dig up off-market properties, and that's kind of where the misconception is.
Yeah, for sure. I think where I run into this a lot is that people get it confused. They see that the way a wholesaler makes money is that they get that assignment fee, right? And the way a realtor makes money is that they get their commission.
Right.
And they confuse those two things and make it look like it's the same thing. But we're not doing the same job, right? So the wholesaler is spending all day, every day, direct marketing, driving for dollars, finding those deals at 65 cents on the dollar, and they don't take you through the transaction. So here's the biggest difference in my opinion. Fiduciary responsibility to the client.
100%.
So can an agent find a good deal? Yes. Is that what they're spending all their time doing? No. They're spending most of their time facilitating the transaction and actually protecting the best interests of their client. A wholesaler will sell, we love wholesalers, but their incentive is not necessarily to help you get through that transaction holding your hand. They're not going to be running your numbers to make sure that the deal works for you for the next 5 to 10 years.
Right.
Right?
And to be honest, they will show you the numbers they've run. I've yet to come across an opportunity where the ARV is what it really is, the repairs are what they really are.
Right.
They're trying to sell you something. As an agent, I'm trying to be a fiduciary, hold your hand through the transaction, make sure that this is a good deal, not just today, but for the long term. The wholesaler, they want you to buy their contract. They want to make money. Simple as that.
You want to have both in your Rolodex. You want to have the guy who's protecting your interests, and you also want to have the guy who's spending all day hunting down deals.
Absolutely.
Because those are totally different job descriptions that take 40 hours a week, right? And here's the other thing. I trust my wholesaler. I know that they're going to take good care of me. Great. Did you know that one of the ways that wholesalers make money, not to disparage anyone, but is the delta between how much earnest money they put down when they put the property under contract and how much they ask the buyer to put down. So you could not actually close on the deal at all, and your wholesaler could still make money off of the fact that you got hooked in at any point.
A non-refundable EMD.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's one of the ways that they have to protect themselves, to be fair, right? To make sure that they're not playing around with a buyer that's not serious. But that's not ever going to happen with a realtor, right? The realtor is only getting paid if you actually make it to the closing table successfully with your deal.
Absolutely.
So, Mike, how do we know, given that the incentive structures are different, how do we know if we're working with a good wholesaler?
I always try to at least have somebody who's worked with them in the past. I can run my own deals. It's extremely important to know your numbers. I mean, that's a big deal, right?
Yeah.
If it's a deal and you know it's a deal, the wholesaler deserves to be paid, so they're going to make that delta. They should get paid 100%. No one's saying that they don't deserve the money that they get. They should. But run your numbers yourself, send it to me. I have people who have bought deals from wholesalers that they've run it by me and second set of eyes, and I'm like, hey, this looks great, go for it. We've bought plenty of deals from wholesalers. We work with wholesalers all the time, but again, they don't have that fiduciary responsibility to you.
Exactly.
So the way that I'm gonna kind of hold your hand, run the numbers with you, make sure that this works. When you're working with a wholesaler, they're not doing that. They're gonna They're not doing all of that.
I love that. One of the things that I would add to that is that I would say it takes a village, right? It takes a team, right? 2 heads are better than 1. So I love how the first thing that you said in response and to the question of how do you find a good wholesaler is by referral.
Absolutely.
Right? You need, because for every great wholesaler, there'll be 9 out there who have no idea what they're doing. They're trying to make, get rich quick. So you got to find the good wholesalers who know what they're doing, and they are out there, folks. And they are indispensable if you can find them. But yeah, I think 2 of the people who are the most important on the team to help check the wholesaler to make sure that they really are doing what's in your best interest. And by the way, it's not their job to do what's in your best interest. They're trying to make their own money, and if you don't want the deal, they'll have 10 more people that they can offer it to, right? So what you do for yourself to make sure that this deal, which is a great deal, right? To make sure that it's a great deal for you, is that you run it by your realtor, who understands your position and can help you navigate multiple exits, right? And you run it by the lender, because the lender is really good at the underwriting portion to make sure that this pencils out math-wise.
Yeah, absolutely. They can save you from making a bad deal for sure, because they're very protective of their money. They're lending it out. They're not going to lend on bad deals. So having a good lender that knows what they're doing with the underwriting is crucial.
And I know cash buyers who are planning to use cash that still run things by hard money lenders just because they trust their opinion. They want the feedback of how would this pencil out if I was to do X, or if I was to do Y, or if I was to do Z.
Yeah, all the time. And if you don't have expertise with the renovations and repairs, I would add a contractor to say, hey, I'm being told that it's got about $30,000 worth of repairs. Is that true? And they can give you the yes or the no.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so to recap, myth number 1, Mike, is it true that there's no difference between wholesalers and agents?
No, big difference.
They serve different roles, 100%. All right, so myth number 2, agents are just door openers and contract providers who needs them.
Right. And, those are out there too, right? But that's not the ones that you want to be working with.
Exactly.
It's simple as that. We try to take an approach where it's really a relationship, a lifelong relationship, ideally. I try to look at myself more as an advisor or consultant. Again, I work with a lot of investors. It's not single transactions here and there, like a transactional relationship. It's let's look at these numbers. Let's look at the rental comps. Let's look at, whatever their goals are. Let's make sure that we have the right fit.
Yeah, one of the best values that I think an agent adds, right? Just speaking even from my own experience as an agent, my job is fixing problems that people didn't see coming, right? If you think all we're going to do is open the door for you, if you think all we're going to do is hand you a contract, you probably don't need us. And then as soon as you run into the problem, now who are you turning to? Who can you trust out of all the people that you are paying that's actually going to have your best interests in mind, right? So for example, I once had a deal that had 5 separate problems, any one of which would have killed the deal. And for each problem, it required a different specialist that I was able to bring in to fix it. The best value I find most agents have is their ability to connect you to who you need to fix that individual problem. Because this is all we do all day long is put out fires, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I look at it like, use the analogy you want to use. We're the coach, we're the point guard, whatever, but I'm kind of like the gel between all of the different people that need to be involved in a transaction. And there's a lot. There's plenty. I mean, you know as well as I do that it's not just you and the seller. There's a lot of people that go into it.
Yeah, and for those of you who like to stay on the good side of the law, it's nice to have a licensed realtor with you as well, because we do have to get licensed with the state, and we do have to participate with ongoing educational requirements, so that way, your buddy who's been doing this for 30 years might have a lot of great experience, but if there was a recent change in fair housing laws or something, he might not be keeping abreast of that.
Sometimes things slip through the cracks. They didn't even know that they could be violating something. It's really important, especially if you are going to be a landlord and rent out your property. Like, there's certain things that you just need to know. And I've helped with that plenty. I welcome it. Ask me, even if you think it's silly, ask me the questions. Let's go through it, like step by step. How are you going to do this? Because the consequences are devastating if you don't want to run into those problems.
Absolutely. And a lot of the time, people do come in after one podcast and they think that they know everything, and then they don't discover until it's a little bit too late how little they really do know because of the velocity of deals, right? I've spoken with investors who, very nice gentlemen, very nice gals as well, and they will, with such pride, say, I have 5 doors, or I have 4 doors, or, that they've done this before. They're a grizzled veteran. And it's like, well, congratulations. Let me tell you about all the deals that I've been a part of in the last 3 months.
Yeah.
For every investor that has several doors, you'll find many, many agents that have done many times that in terms of total volume. The experience is just so accelerated when this is your day-to-day.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know how to say that well. Do you have a way to say that well?
I mean, I was an investor before I got licensed. I came from the perspective of I have an investment background. I don't know if I've ever been like, oh, I know it all, but it's like I have an understanding of what's going on. But after getting licensed, I have to say, like, it's not even being licensed. It's working with so many other people on so many other deals, just getting that volume up, getting those reps in. Nobody knows it all. You're constantly learning. There's constantly new ways to make money. There's constantly new ways to invest in different strategies. So I guess just be open-minded to learning. Don't go in thinking you know it all. There's people who own property in California that want to buy rentals here, and they don't realize that the laws are completely different.
Yeah.
There's you have the national laws, but you also have state laws. You also have county ordinances. Mm-hmm. You have HOAs that get specific. Getting national knowledge or listening to a podcast is great, but you can't overestimate the localized, the difference between the localized knowledge.
I think I've figured out a good analogy for it.
Go ahead.
Somebody beats a video game like 2 or 3 times and they're like, I've got this down. And then they watch a speedrunner play the game. And the speedrunner knows like every single thing to cut it down to like a 5-minute run when it took them 5 hours to go through the game on their 3rd try or whatever. It's like the amount of repetitions that speedrunner had to put into that game.
It's all reps.
Right? They just go through the volume. And that's what your agent is. Your agent's the speedrunner who just does this all day, every day. It's wonderful that you've completed the game 3 times. But let's not mince words here about the kinds of things that the speedrunner has of value to share with you.
And look, when you've done 100 transactions and you've seen a certain amount of things that are, the 1%. Oh, there's like a 1% chance of that happening, and it's like, well, I've run into it, So we'll be aware, But there's just things that come up, things that are rare in a transaction, that you can really only get there with reps or horrible luck, maybe. Like all the bad stuff happens to you, but you just need someone who's aware of what's going on. The potential and possibilities for things to go wrong. Because like you said it, we are there to solve problems before they've even happened yet.
Right.
And if they haven't happened to you yet, it's tough to solve. It's tough to even notice when they're coming at you.
Yeah. It's like, do you want to touch the hot stove for yourself to learn, or do you want to learn from someone else's advice?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So next one is that you can get something for nothing. A lot of people have this belief, and you can tell by the way that they talk, even if they don't come out and say it, right? They sit down with you for the initial meeting, and it's apparent that they're trying to use real estate to solve their problem. But out of the three things in the deal triangle, right, you have experience, you have money, and you have the deal, right, finding the deal. They're asking us to provide all three. Well, what are you for then?
Right. This happens all the time. They'll read books about how to get into investing with basically nothing. No credit, no cash, no connections, no anything. And that's doable. There are strategies, but you can't do it with nothing and no time spent and no effort put into it. If you have no cash, no credit, no connections, no nothing like that, you have to go out and find a deal.
Yeah.
You have to be the one going to bring the deal. You know, say you have incredible connections. You know a lot of people, wealthy people who want to invest in real estate. You can make money just being that connector, connecting people with the deal.
Yep.
That's out there. There's a million ways to get this done, but you need to bring something to the table every single time. If it's not the deal, it's going to be the cash. If it's not the cash or the deal, it's going to be some sort of connection. It needs to be something. There's never, you don't get something for nothing.
That's right.
Or else, I mean, everyone would. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that. There's not a money tree that you just go shake the tree and the money comes out. Now, real estate's pretty close. Yeah. Real estate is the dirt that tree grows in.
That's right.
But it is not the tree itself, right? So coming back to that deal triangle, if I was to name the profession for each of those corners of the triangle, right? So we have the deal provider. Mm-hmm. That would be the wholesalers. Yeah. Right?
Wholesaler, or if it's listed, agent.
Yeah. Then we have the money, right? And the money is typically going to be some sort of lender, right? And it can be the investor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? But it can also be a lender. And then the third one would be the experience, the know-how, right? And this is oftentimes the agent, if you have an agent who knows what they're doing, right? Otherwise, this would be the investor, right?
Yes.
So, Mike, let's talk about myth number 4.
Let's do it.
All markets are created equal.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big one. First off, no market is created equal.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, they're all different. The way that I like to kind of convey that with the investors that I work with are, you have cash flow heavy markets and you have appreciation markets, right?
Yes.
If you have a ton of jobs, a lot of, migration into the market, it's usually going to appreciate, and then vice versa. If people are leaving the market, you might be able to get great cash flow. The first investment I ever bought was in West Virginia. It cash flows incredibly. It does not appreciate at all. Right, that's like the far extreme over here. We operate in like the DC metro area, Northern Virginia, and this is a big appreciation market.
Yeah,
that's
for
what
sure.
it is. And in markets like that, it's very difficult to find properties that cash flow, especially that cash flow well. I talk to some people who want, 20% cash on cash returns. That's a tough find here.
Yeah. It's a different game you're playing.
Completely.
Right? And there's also differences between like the macro and the micro, right? So for example, on a macro level, you would expect rents to go up more in an appreciation market. Mm-hmm. But in the micro, in the market of the moment, I mean, heck, it's March 2023 right now. We just had a meeting, and we had a property manager in our meeting, and the property manager was talking about how the heaviest appreciation markets right now, and the kind of close into DC, they're having trouble renting those units.
Yeah.
But then when you go out into the tertiary markets, talking about like Prince William, Fairfax, Loudoun County, those markets are having no trouble filling their vacancies.
Oh no, they're going quick.
And that's counterintuitive, right? But it's like the stock market. It go up, down, up, down, up, down. We know what the trend is on a macro level. Mm-hmm. We know which way it's headed. Mm-hmm. But in the moment, you got to pay attention. You got to adjust. Otherwise, you're just going to get hurt.
Yeah, for sure. And in real estate, the buy is the most important part. Yes. You know what I mean? You can do the renovations, you can do this and do that, but you can't move where your house is unless it's a mobile home. But it's
yeah.
So the area that you're buying in is extremely important, and then the house for that neighborhood is extremely important. That's why I always kind of preach, learn a market really
Yes.
well. Learn a market really well. Get laser focused. Know the ins and outs, so that way you can spot a deal like that. If you spend all your time, like I'm looking in Northern Virginia all the time. If someone sends me, "Hey, is this a good deal in Tampa, Florida?" I have no idea. I'm going to have to spend a lot of time to do my research, find all these things out, see if I have connections down there, just to try to, kind of solve that puzzle. If you can get really good at one market, I think that's where you should start.
And even more than that, if you can narrow your buy box down to 2 or 3 neighborhoods.
Oh, yeah.
And know that area better than anyone. And the reason I even brought up macro versus micro, someone could come in to the market of the moment. They could see those trends that just happened with the renters, and they could come away with the wrong lesson because they're only doing their research right now.
Absolutely.
And if they make the buy decision, the quote-unquote forever decision, based on the market of the moment, they could be misled. It's one of the reasons why you need someone who has a volume of work to help guide you through it.
Yeah, it happens all the time too. I mean, I've seen it just over the last couple of years. The way that we've been seeing, house prices exploding, rents exploding in a lot of areas. People want to pile in, but oftentimes you're the last person on that pile, and then you're left with something that you didn't really want.
Last one on, first one off.
That's right.
A lot of the time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Number 5, waiting for a crash to buy. But Mike, I'm just going to wait because I hear everybody telling me that the market's going to crash and I'll buy at the bottom.
Yeah, I've actually had a few clients who have been waiting for a crash the last several years. That's an option.
That's not funny. I'm sorry.
No, it's just one of those things that, like, the old adage, you buy. What is it?
You don't
wait to buy and wait.
Yes.
Right.
That's the adage.
And that's it, especially on the investment side. If you're running numbers and the numbers are what they are and you're looking at a property and this is a deal, this is appealing to you, I would never, ever recommend, hey, pass on that deal in the hopes that a better one comes up in 2 years because of a market crash or something like that.
Yeah. One of the things that occurred to me when I was looking at this discussion of timing the market versus time in the market,
right.
One of the things that occurred to me was when I became a realtor, I would get all these different emails from the different realtor associations and all the different groups giving me the statistics. And one of the things that I kept getting year after year was a little notice of like, hey, if the market was to dip 25%, how far back in time would that put us? And it was never more than like a year ago. Right. It was like, even if the market tanks and goes down significantly, it's like that would just be as if you had lost a year or 2 or something like that. It's like, I don't think anyone here thinks that we're going to go back to 1950s prices.
Mm-mm. No, and the amount of appreciation we've seen over the last couple of years, it's going to be it's hard to imagine that we're going to see a correction to the degree that the people who bought 2 years ago are going to be upside down on their homes.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult.
No, it would be, I mean, it would have to be like a massive, entire economic.
Right. It's one of the questions where if what you're afraid of was to come to pass, where are you hiding that it doesn't affect you? Right. I mean, if real estate gets hit that bad, everything's getting hit that bad.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It would just be, just a complete economic downturn that rivals the Great Depression, something like that.
And to that fact, just to put that into perspective, right? We were talking about the current stats on equity in American housing. So it's roughly broken into thirds. About a third of homes in the U.S. are paid off. About a third have over 50% equity, and only a third have less than 50%, which means there is an astounding amount of security in real estate right now. The chances that the market takes a significant downturn, I don't have a crystal ball. There will always be fluctuations up and down. All real estate markets are local, so a local market might have a problem. But the U.S. as a whole, I don't think is going to have trouble.
Yeah, I mean, and you bring up a really good point. There's always going to be, pocket here, market here, where they're experiencing a downturn. A big source of jobs for them goes out of business or something.
Right.
Like there's things that can happen. Being in the Northern Virginia area, our biggest industry is the federal government. They don't really give you a pass on paying taxes. They collect no matter what.
That's right.
So we're in a market that's a bit insulated from that as is.
Yeah. I kind of make myself rest easy at night sometimes by reminding myself, don't worry, Daniel, in order for real estate values to go down in Northern Virginia, the U.S. government has to like stop functioning.
Yeah, no, yeah, we're in one of those safer markets. But yeah, I mean, there can always be a downturn, but you just want to look at it as a whole. You know, interest rates skyrocket, for example, right? Oh, okay, we can't. The market's going to maybe prices go down, but then the cost of money goes up. So
Yeah.
you know, it's harder to get a loan at that point. There's going to be other issues
Yeah.
if the market corrects to such a degree.
Things have a way of balancing.
Yes, exactly. Like,
Yeah.
you know, a year or two ago when rates were in the 2s and 3s, that's why you saw such a frenzy in the marketplace, you know,
Absolutely.
and things were going 100K over ask. Now that it's, you know, rates are a little bit higher, things have slowed down, but you know, in our area, we haven't really even seen prices drop at all. Like, they're continuing to go up.
They're still going up.
Yeah, they're
over
still
here.
going up.
Yeah. Mike, thank you for helping us knock down some myths today. I
As
really
always.
appreciate having you here. We'll have to bring you back again.
For sure.
And for anyone out there who wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way they can reach you?
I'm on Facebook. Mike Weber is my name. I'm also on Instagram, TikTok, and that's Mike65.
Awesome. Mike,
Yes.
thanks for coming in today.
Good to see you.